Good morning, everyone. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, DJM.
Hello.
That's our favorite thing to say to her every morning when she gets in. Although now she comes to our office.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's because I drop my lunch off, so you guys usually
And we're always
rope
like,
me in.
always like, is that DJ?
Yep,
Yeah, but-
it's me.
Yeah.
It's me and Mario.
Well, good morning, DJ.
Good morning.
Good morning, DJ.
We're so happy to have you here today. And look who's back.
Good morning.
Good morning. Look, we're all wearing blue.
Wow.
Wow, we pretty
Are
much
you
have
trying
the
to
same
be
thing
like
on.
us?
I mean, yours is slightly different.
Yeah, they're all slightly different.
Yeah.
Yeah, yours.
What'd you say, Liv?
Yeah.
I said, are you trying to be like us?
No.
The accusations spread.
Yes.
I'll take mine off now. I got another shirt.
No. Oh, it's blue too.
No, it's purple.
Oh, whoops. Oh.
Purple?
My shirt underneath is purple.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, hey, yeah, we're happy to have you back. We missed you last week.
Yeah.
B-Rock,
I
B-Rock
actually-
had some small shoes to fill, and I'd say she filled them out pretty good.
Some small shoes. They are rather small shoes.
Size 4.5.
Yeah, if I shop in the kids section, that's probably about 4 maybe. I don't know. I don't remember.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, we've
And
had
I
a
do
few,
shop in the kids section when possible.
Yeah. We've had a few weeks of some weird coffee with flips, or we've been missing somebody.
Yeah.
We're
This is
finally
the
back
first
to our
week.
normal
We
crew.
got the gang back together.
Squad's all here.
Wow, this
Yeah.
does feel good. And what's our topic today?
The Hardiest Caridina shrimp for beginners.
Mm-hmm.
You don't hear Caridina and Hardy together very often, nor do you hear Caridina and Beginner together very often.
Mm-hmm.
So this is going to be an interesting
Are we here?
one.
Are we here to change the narrative?
We, maybe.
Yeah. You've been using that word a lot lately. Narrative.
Have we?
You have.
I have?
Yep.
Narrative?
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever used that word.
He's like, I don't
You've
even know what
used
that
it- you
means.
used it like 3 times yesterday.
What? In what context? Or
The narrative.
I don't think I ever say that.
You did. Anyway.
That's crazy. It doesn't even
Yeah.
feel natural coming out of my mouth.
Yeah.
So the Hardiest Caridina shrimp for beginners. Last
Yeah.
week we played a little trivia.
Yeah,
You
I
got
hear-
some more trivia for us
I
this
hear
week?
that trivia went well, so we're doing it
Trivia
again.
popped off.
We had a lot of fun with it, and I think the chat did too. So
Well,
what do you got for us this week?
okay.
Brooke
First,
did a great job last week. Shout out to Brooke.
This is like
B-Rock.
a Flip Aquatics game show now.
no, rock, paper, scissors at the end, spin the wheel.
We're about
Trivia
to
in
have
the
obstacle
beginning.
courses.
We've got 15 different game shows wrapped into one.
We should transition to Jeopardy where it's like, can I get a Hardiest Caridina shrimp for $1,000, please?
That's literally what I said last week. Oh, wait. There's a thing over there.
That
Oh
would
my
be fun.
gosh. Okay,
I was like,
first trivia question. What Caridina shrimp are the hardiest? I think I know what Rob would say.
Definitely.
Are you gonna say?
Blue bolts? No, I'm joking.
That's not what you would say, though, is it?
No,
Okay.
maybe.
Gosh,
I didn't
no.
think that's what you would say.
Did I mess you up?
Yeah, you're making me second guess if I actually know what you would say.
I know what I'm gonna say.
I have to think about what I'm gonna say.
Mine's
What's the
easy.
chat thinking?
So Everett Irby says wild type. I think that was in response to this question because it's like at the bottom of the chat.
Yeah.
Chevy Fish says Amanos, but Amanos are kind of like their own
She's
thing, right?
sneaky. Amanos technically are a Caridina shrimp, but I wouldn't count those as like a standard Caridina.
Yeah.
But that's sneaky. Chevy Fish, you would be correct if we were including Amanos in this. But I would say Amanos. We won't include those. It's too easy.
JD asked what I missed. So first trivia question is what Caridina shrimp are the hardiest?
What Caridina shrimp are the hardiest? You know what you would say?
I was gonna say Amanos.
So-
Oh, you're sneaky too. But that is, I mean, you're right. You're right.
think me and
By
Chevy
the
Fish are
Byland
twin
says Caridina typos, aka Amanos, or Caridina babalti.
Babolti, yeah.
Just Chris says Crystal.
Crystal.
Guppy Joe says he's still thinking blue bolts.
Blue Bolt, Guppy Joe. He fell for
And
the
then
trap.
Chevy Fish says if we're not counting Amanos, then Tangerine Tigers. JD says Tiger Caridina. Jamie Dater Waddell just gave us, I think it's a super chat. It says $1.99 that has like a little balloon and stuff.
A super sticker.
Super sticker. Okay.
Who did that?
Let's celebrate their first super on a live stream, it says.
Aw, thank
Jamie.
you so much. Jamie, thank you. We really appreciate that.
Twin City Guppy says Tangerine Tiger. Paul says the ones you can keep alive.
That is true. Well, I would say, so what were, you were going to say Amanos?
I was going to say Amanos, yeah.
Yeah.
Until they were disqualified.
What would you say?
Well, personally, I don't have an opinion because I don't consider myself an expert on Caridina. But I thought that you would say Tangerine Tigers.
So I do think naturally I'd probably say Tangerine Tigers. But honestly, I want to say like Galaxy Shrimp because they have such mixed genetics that they're like so hardy when it comes to Caridina shrimp. So I think Tangerine Tigers are the ones that are more likely to survive in a wider range of parameters. But Galaxies, like if you're keeping the correct parameters, I think Galaxies you're going to have the easiest time with. But if you get like a pH above 7, maybe Galaxies wouldn't do good. Whereas like Tangerine Tigers probably would keep doing good. So Tangerine Tigers is probably the right answer, but Galaxies is definitely a contender.
I think Blue Steel.
Blue Steel.
Yep.
They are pretty hardy. They are hardy. All right, what we got next?
Okay. True or false? Caridina shrimp are more adaptable to changes in water quality than other types.
Can you use that in a sentence, please?
Oh my gosh. Paul said today's the big 5-0 earlier, and I didn't know what he was talking about,
Happy
honestly.
birthday, Paul.
No, that's what I thought at first. It's our 50th episode of Coffee with Flip. Because then IMAC just said it again. I'm like, what are they talking about? And then I realized.
Episode 50.
Happy birthday, Paul.
Hey, can we sing Paul happy birthday for his 50th?
Oh my god.
50th episode, that's crazy.
Yeah.
2 more and then
Which-
we're at a year.
That's
Yeah.
wild.
That is wild. Thank you
A
guys.
lot of coffee with Flip.
All right, what are people saying? True
Okay.
or false?
Everett Irby says false. JD says false.
By the by.
By the Byland says falsetto. Falsetto. Chevy Fish says false.
I mean, that's an easy one. It's definitely false.
Good job,
It's
guys.
false.
It's definitely false.
Now, Chevy Fish says happy half a century, Paul.
Let's go, Paul.
Oh my goodness. Okay, number 3. Can Caridina shrimp thrive alongside other shrimp in a beginner's tank setup?
That's a trick question.
Can they thrive?
Yeah, can they thrive alongside other shrimp in a beginner's tank setup?
That is a trick question.
That is a trick question.
We
I
need
th-
explanations in the chat. Explanations.
I
Yeah.
feel like I know what Rob would say.
What do you feel like I would say?
I can't tell you
Oh,
yet.
you can. I think it would be good.
This would be
I
one of
need to let
Rob's
other
quotes
people
of the
answer
week.
first.
What?
So this would be one of your quotes of the week.
Yeah,
Remember
it's
we were
like
talking about that
it's a
on
Rob
Sunday?
quote.
Anything worse than a bee?
Okay, Everett Irby says depends, but usually no. Guppy Joe says sort of. JD says depends on the water parameters. By the Byland says like Neos. Neos can be in Caridina parameters. Twin City Guppy says Paul's probably like 18 years old.
Definitely.
Oh, he says he's coming up on 60 in 3 years. Madison says in a beginner's tank, I'm going to say no. Chevy Fish says no. By the Byland says Caridina would thrive, but Neos would just survive.
Whew.
Um,
That's a good quote.
Yeah.
Everett Irby says GH/pH dependent. Just Chris says yes. ... Yeah. So. Oh yeah, we did. Sorry, I skipped right over that. TJ Hammond.
TJ Hammond.
TJ, welcome.
Welcome to the Flip Aquatics Aquarium
Thank you for
Club.
joining us.
So, yeah, it's definitely a trick question. Beginner setup, one.
That's so vague.
That's so vague.
It could be anything.
So it could be anything. So if the beginner setup is geared to Caridina,
then of course.
Then of course you could keep two different types of Caridina shrimp together, and that wouldn't be a problem. And they could breed and have babies, and everything's good. But then if it's Caridina with Neo-Caridina,
Yeah, it says keep Caridina with other shrimp. So I feel like it's like with Neo or. Yeah.
So if it's keeping Caridina with Neo-Caridina, then I would say, regardless of it being a beginner, usually one shrimp thrives while the other survives.
There you have it.
Who said that, Chevy?
No, I think it was by the Bylands.
By the Bylands.
Yep.
Good
Yeah,
job.
that's what I thought you were gonna say.
Yep, that is 100% true.
I agree.
Okay.
You ready to lose paper, scissors, rock today?
No.
Did you win last week, Liv?
No.
Oh gosh,
I'm on a 2-week losing streak right
that's
now.
tough.
Yeah.
Okay, fourth question. What are some challenges? Oh, so this one is like less trivia, a little bit more like curiosity. What are some challenges that the chat has experienced with Caridina shrimp?
I could talk about me as a beginner.
Yeah.
Start sparking the conversation. I know my biggest struggle was RO water, and like, how do you use RO water? How do you remineralize it? What's the right way to do it? You hear a lot about TDS. You hear a lot about GH and KH, and like just where to start. And so, my first RO attempt was doing a water change, adding RO into the tank, filling it up, and then adding salt to the tank. And I killed all my shrimp. I was like, yeah, that was not the right way to do it. And then another time, I ended up getting a 55-gallon trash can, and I filled that out with RO water, remineralized it in there, and all my shrimp died. And I was like, what happened? Here, I had a clamp fall down into the black trash can, and I couldn't tell, and it rusted in the bottom. And so, like, the first tank I did a water change on, it shot all that rust in the tank and killed everything. So I know RO water was definitely a struggle for me early on until I had all the information that I needed.
I'll do.
So for the chat, just Chris says lack of breeding. Chevy Fish says sensitivity of imports. Madison says, I had 11 and now I have 3. That's it. That's what I got to add to this convo. TJ says, I'm super new to app of this. I recently bought some ghost shrimp and I have one lonely survivor. Is a ghost shrimp Caridina or is it Neo-Caridina?
I believe it's a Caridina type shrimp. But it's like a saltwater-ish type fish. Or it's like brackish water.
What is
Gotcha.
it?
Ghost shrimp.
And they're
Everett-
like super unhealthy.
Everett Irby says planaria, the worst.
Planaria is pretty bad.
Yeah, so that's what everybody has in the chat so far. But we have the mystery, the misty,
The
Bonus
misty.
question.
the
We got a
mystery-
misty question.
The misty question.
Mystery.
Okay.
Mistowy.
The mystery question submitted to me by DJ M. What is Liv's favorite Caridina shrimp?
Ooh. That's the whole question. Wow. Wow. Well, I'm glad at no point did I say my favorite Caridina shrimp.
Oh yeah, was that for real your answer?
No.
Okay,
Did I even say anything?
you did say something.
I said blue steels.
Oh wait, you were talking
But
about
that was
what's the
hardiest.
hardiest? Okay.
Gonna give me
Let
a
me
moment
think
to,
about this.
Give me a moment to think about this, please.
Liv doesn't know the answer
Huh?
either.
You want a hint? Just kidding.
No,
No
I don't
hints.
even think you know.
That's the perk of the mystery question, though.
That they also don't know the answer.
Yeah, because I didn't know last week when Brooke asked me.
Yeah.
I think it's
I
also-
I got it.
This is also fun, though, because we see so many things here. There's always new things coming in. Maybe not Caridina, there's new
Dude.
things always coming in, but it's like an evolving question.
I remember
Do
like
you know your answer yet?
Yeah.
We
I
gotta
think.
see
Okay.
what the chat says.
Let's see what
before-
the
Okay.
chat says, and then we can all take
we only
stats.
have 2 guesses so far.
Ooh,
Oh wait.
nobody cares about
No,
you.
no,
They
3. I think JD's is about
No
Liv's
surprise
question.
there.
Tiger bee shrimp.
And I love how Leather worded it. We only have we only have two.
Well, we have a
two
delay,
responses.
so like
Yeah.
we have
People
to
aren't very
accommodate for the
interested
delay
in this
too.
question.
Well, I'll take a stab then, and then we can see what Chad thinks. I think it's going to be Orange Eye Blue Tigers.
Okay.
Em, what are you thinking?
I think the zebra bobolti.
Ooh. Broccolini, what you got?
Oh. Dang.
I'm sweating over here. What do I think?
It's like there's a huge prize on the line.
Sorry for putting you on the spot.
I know.
Sweat's pouring down her face.
I'm gonna go with
Can I phone a friend?
a blue bolt, I guess.
Blue Bolt. Okay, I would sing a Blue Bolt too.
Got some diversity.
Yeah. What are you thinking?
Gosh, I'm so torn. I was gonna go with the Orange Eye Blue Tiger, but then when M said Zebra Balti, I think that might be a better guess.
I think you gotta try Blue Steel.
I know. I thought about trying that too.
'Cause I know you were questioning it.
Since Liv discovered the species of the blue steel.
No, I'm gonna go Zebra Balti. I think that was a good guess.
And what's Chad saying?
So, Chat, Royal Blue, Orange Eye Tiger, Black Galaxy Pinto, Galaxy.
Interesting.
Well,
The ones I think are the cutest, I have two.
You would.
Plot twist.
My initial thought was the shadow panda.
Oh. Wow.
I think they're
yeah.
some cute little munchkins. And I would say my second is the zebra bubble tea.
oh my gosh. They
Yep.
cheated.
Nice job, Em.
They cheated. That was fun. Zebra bubble
Hey.
tea.
Cool. Well,
Well, you want to give them a quick little rundown of the wheel?
yeah. So, for those
got-
of you that are new here,
If you guys want to win some prizes,
Yeah.
that's why we gave away 25 memberships.
yeah,
Weekly giveaways?
weekly giveaways. So this
coffee
is the
with
Will. This is Will. This is the Will. And every week we we spin it. We play rock paper scissors, and Rob loses most of the time, but apparently not the last 2 weeks.
He's only beat me once in the last 2 weeks. The previous time was Cody.
Oh. Yeah. You're
So,
right.
Don't give him
Yeah,
too
yeah.
much
You're
credit.
right. You're right. So, there's a pinned comment at the top of the chat. It's also in the description with a link where you just go fill out your information, and then you're entered. You do have to fill it out weekly to be re-entered for the new week. And then at the end of the live stream, we'll have a winner.
Bum, bum, bum.
And it won't be Liv.
Yeah, well, it'll be one of
It
you.
would sound like, that'll do, donkey.
That'll do, donkey. It'll be one of you.
Oh, gosh.
Anyway,
I apologize for everyone at home watching at the moment.
so the Hardiest
Yeah, the
Caridina
Hardiest
shrimp.
Caridina shrimp. We should talk about that. Oh, man. So, Hardiest Caridina shrimp for beginners. Well, we did talk about some of the hardiest types.
Yeah, so we talked about some of the hardiest types. You said tangerine tigers, possibly galaxies, but what do you think makes a hardy shrimp hardy?
Well, I think we have to start with, like,
Okay,
the basics.
all right.
Restart.
Hey, can you pause the live stream for a second? And then when we unpause, if Liv's no longer here, you'll know what happened. The basics of Caridina shrimp. So how Caridina shrimp can be beginner friendly is you have to have the right setup.
Of course.
So like right setup is number one.
Yeah, nothing's gonna be hardy.
So if I could have your permission to talk about the correct setup first.
Sure.
Okay.
You have my blessing.
The tension right
You
Li-
may now control the narrative.
Liv, I want you to guess. What are the correct pieces of equipment you need to be successful with keeping Caridina shrimp?
Wow.
And let's not talk about nets and stuff. Let's actually talk about the tank.
Yeah.
What goes in the tank to make that thing a reality?
RO water.
Yes.
Not just any water.
Not
RO water.
or distilled.
Okay. Nothing I do is good enough around here. All right, so RO or distilled water.
RODI.
Liv's going home after this. She's never showing back up.
I'm taking a half day tomorrow, and I will not be here on Friday. Has nothing to do with this moment.
You're
right
not here
now,
Friday at all?
We'll talk about it later.
So the Hardiest Caridina.
Yeah, Hardiest Caridina shrimp. RODI water or distilled water. A good substrate.
What's a good substrate?
Well, we recommend Brightwell's Rio Escura or whatever, however you say it. Now, the difference between inert and non-inert,
Inert and active.
Non-inert.
whatever the opposite of non-inert is, which is inert. Okay, so yeah, an inert or an active substrate, which would that be an active substrate?
Yeah, Braywell's an active substrate.
Yeah.
And it's one that
Controls the pH.
lowers the pH.
Yeah.
So there's ones that increase the pH and there's ones that lower the pH.
Okay. This is going terribly.
No, you're doing great. You can do it.
Obviously, you need a filter. We recommend a Matin filter.
Yes.
Gives great. Our shrimp love to hang on to a Matin filter.
Yeah.
In addition to just the surface area that it provides, and you need airflow, and probably some moss and some places for the shrimp to hang out within.
Let's go. So yes, the proper setup, RODI or RO water.
Or
I mean,
distilled.
It's pretty much the same.
Or
distilled.
you could have distilled water.
Yeah. And then did you bring up the remineralizer? So we actually have to remineralize
No, I
the water.
I didn't mention how you would remineralize it.
So RO water has no minerals in it. You have to remineralize it with GH only. You don't want any KH in your water. So GH is general hardness. We use Shrimple. So Shrimple with GH plus. Depending on the type of shrimp, you want to get anywhere between like a 3 GH to a 10 GH, just depending on what type it is. And so like crystals prefer a little bit harder water. Taiwan Bee is like a little bit softer. So like you can kind of do some research and figure out which one's which. I know like Dragon Bloods, they prefer like a 10 GH. So like those are ones that like it really hard, but they still like the pH low. And so the KH is the one that dictates the pH. So the active soil comes into play, and that's what holds the pH low. It absorbs KH, and that's how it lowers the pH, and then it just holds it at that level. A lot of people ask, can you use botanicals instead of an active soil? You can, but I would say it's less effective. It doesn't create stability, which is always important for shrimp. Filter, definitely a Matin filter, like you said. And the surface area is twofold. So like the more surface area and mass is the more live bacteria you can have in your tank, so it's going to filter your tank better. But also the more surface area, the more places your shrimp can graze. So you said that they always hang on to it, and that's because like it's a natural bed for organics and biofilm to grow and things like that. And so they're constantly feeding off of the Matin filter. So it's the only bad thing about a Matin filter is two things. One, it's unsightly. So like I guess our gallery tanks look really good. So those are the back wall.
Yeah.
So you can make them look good. The biggest downside is like how difficult they are to clean. So a couple things to just watch out for. The other thing is you don't want to keep the temperature high. Like Caridina like a cool temperature, so like 72 or less. We try to keep our tanks like 68 or less. So anyway, you got to have the right setup. That's first step to being successful with Caridina. If you fail at that, nothing else will work. A mono shrimp are the exception, and there's a couple other exceptions, but a mono shrimp are pretty easy to keep. They survive a range of parameters, so that would be the one exception. But we're mainly referring to like Taiwan bees, crystal shrimp, pintos, things like that.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, go ahead. You had a question?
Yeah. I did.
Hey.
Now I don't know if I should. But I was wondering, like, what are the things that you think make a shrimp hardy? Like, we talked a little bit about genetics, adaptability within parameters. Anything else in addition to those things?
Yeah, so like, well, let's talk about genetics. So like, tangerine tigers are a wild type shrimp. So they have very good genetics. The genetics get worse as they're inbred. So like if you try to turn a tangerine tiger into just a solid orange shrimp, you have to breed ones that have less spots with other ones that have less spots, and like over a long period of time you might be able to get down to where it has no spots at all. And that's super inbred, so the genetics of it aren't as good, and it's less hardy because the genetics aren't as good. So like they die or have a lot of illnesses. But they're going along with that, like if you get Caridina bubulti that they collected out of a river and it's wild caught, odds are the genetics are good, but that shrimp is not hardy because like it's been through so many changes in its life. And so the reason tangerine tigers are so hardy is because they don't get them from the wild. Like now they breed them in captivity, and so the genetics are good, and also it's a stable line because they're breeding it. So like wild type shrimp are way less hardy than, you know, bred in captivity shrimp. Now there's some exceptions to that too. Like a lot of bamboo shrimp are wild caught. So like they collect them at a point where they're pretty hardy. They treat them pretty good, and so they end up doing decently well in the aquarium.
So with tank bred shrimp, or like captivity bred shrimp, there is also a chance though that they haven't been exposed to the various like bacterias and stuff that might exist elsewhere.
True.
So they're probably exposed to more bacteria in the wild than in captivity. So
I would agree.
could potentially
Make them
balance the
hardier.
score.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's definitely interesting. So like,
It's
Wi-
not. It's
wild
not a
type
single
in
full
some
question.
ways could be hardier. Other times it cannot be hardier.
Yeah.
It's always good when it's a wild type that has been bred in captivity, in my opinion. That's where you're going to get the best. But the other thing that makes something really hardy, it's still genetics, but it's when you mix genetics. So like if I take a tangerine tiger and mix it with a crystal red, those babies are going to have such a diverse genetic pool that they're going to be extremely hardy. And that's why I said like galaxy pintos are one of the hardiest shrimp, because they're mixed with so many things to make a galaxy that like that's going to be a super hardy shrimp. So it just depends on like once they mix them, how line bred they have to be to get that specific pattern and color. And those are the things for me that really make shrimp hardy or not.
Yeah. Anything in the chat? Have any
No,
thoughts on hardy
Not
shrimp?
so far. No questions anyway. They're chatting amongst themselves a little bit.
Yeah. Well, what about, so we talked about some of the challenges. You said RO water was a challenge for you. What did the other folks say earlier when we were talking trivia questions?
I know like planaria was one. Lack of breeding, sensitivity of imports.
Import
Lack of breeding is
sensitivity.
a really good one to talk about. And so like, especially with Caridina, people like nowadays, I mean, I think this has always been a problem, but people just get impatient. Like I remember when I first started breeding shrimp and I was like, oh, they're not breeding. And like you could buy this, it was like a Borneo wild product. It was called Dance, and you add it to your tank and it gets them to breed. And I'm like, I was tired of waiting for them to breed, so I got that. And what it does is it basically gets them to molt, which then allows them to be able to breed, because you have to molt to be able to breed. And that's not good for the shrimp.
Yeah.
Like you're forcing them to do something that they're not ready for. And so like we get emails all the time. They're like, hey, I bought these shrimp. They said that, you know, they would be the age where like they could breed shortly. I've had them for 2 months. They haven't bred yet. And it's because like shrimp naturally breed in the spring and in the fall. So like you get, most of the time you get them to breed twice per season or per year. And that's where like people get very impatient about the breeding aspect. And so my big thing is like, just let nature take its course. If you have the right setup, that's all that matters. And just know that in the spring, you'll naturally, what is going on over there? You should see the DJ booth right now.
They
Like,
can see them.
I'm just surprised you didn't catch us earlier with just Chris's comment, because I literally almost spit water all
Well, no, I
over.
did. And then I was like, remain focused, remain focused. And then it went on for like 5 minutes. And I'm like, what is going on?
That was very good. We're very proud of you for keeping focused.
I try. So what happened?
Well, just Chris earlier said, what did he say? Emily pause the video, and then Rob will come back with, Rob's nose is bleeding and we'll know why.
That's when you were pestering Liv.
Anyway.
Could happen. Rob says if anyone tries to fight him, the other person will die.
Yeah, I was like,
I also say if anyone tries to fight me, the other person will die.
I
So-
wish they'd try.
So what you're saying is
Instead of paper, scissors, rock, you want to do
A fist fight?
a fist fight?
an actual fight.
We should get those blow up balls, and then whoever falls over first loses.
Like the
The ones that you get inside the middle
yeah.
of.
The sumo wrestlers.
it.
I would just love launching you across the parking lot.
I don't think that one.
No, I don't think that's fair. I think it'd be hilarious though, because I can see myself like hitting you and you going in the air and like bouncing, and then me being like, "Oh yeah, I did it," and then Andy tackling me from behind and starting to punch me in the back of the head.
Probably.
We would need him to come too.
Yeah.
It'd be fun. But anywho,
Yeah, can I have someone fight on my behalf?
Hey, sorry the DJ booth derailed our conversation.
We didn't do anything.
We're trying to figure out
You
who
know
is
what
the
we need to
hardiest
do?
Flip Aquatics employee.
We
right
need
now.
we need to put up a sheet. We need a curtain that goes between us.
I don't even see it because I'm faced this way.
And this is like my
Yeah.
natural look is right there because
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
We'll move the DJ booth back.
Paul says
Like-
he's probably got bad knees. Just kick him in the knees.
That is
Yeah,
true.
I do have bad knees.
I'll twist your finger.
oh, it's swollen. Not the finger.
Might
so
fix it.
breeding was a good thing. We talked a little bit about that. Planaria. So for anyone who's struggling with planaria, 99% of the time when you have planaria, it means you're overfeeding. But if you do get an infestation, like one planaria is not the end of the world. If you see a couple here and there, not the end of the world. They do naturally occur sometimes in the aquarium, like just, I don't know how they get there, whether it's by plants or whatever. But I do naturally see them in aquariums. And so it's not the end of the world if you do have 1, 2, 3. But when you get an infestation, like you're seeing them all the time, we treat with Pan-Cure C. It's a dog dewormer at 0.1 gram per 10 gallons. So you need a really good scale to be able to measure that out. And so we have like gram scales that go down to like 0.001, and that's how we measure it. But that, again, it's a dog dewormer, so it's not made for aquariums, so definitely go into it knowing that.
Yeah.
And know that we take no liability of anything that
Yeah.
happens, but we've used it for, I don't know, years and have never had an issue with it. But there's other products out there that kill planaria. I personally haven't used them. I've always used the Pan-Cure C. And so it is something that can be remedied. Just know that like siphoning your substrate, if you do see them, will help, because most likely there's a lot of detritus down there. And so you can, fix the situation that way.
Yeah.
And then what other comments do we have as far as what people are saying their biggest struggles are?
Sorry, I gotta try to.
Yeah, the whole
Find it again in the chat.
remineralization was
I
definitely a big
think
issue. for me.
sensitivity of imports. Did you cover that one?
Yeah, sensitivity of imports, and that's where like I'd be curious if I forget who said that, but I'd be curious if they got them from us.
Chevy fish.
So yeah, I'd be curious if they got them from us, because I know our shrimp, like we hold them for 30 days at least. Like sometimes we'll hold them. Caridina specifically, they don't sell through as quick. So like there's times that we'll have a Caridina tank for like 6 months. And so I would be very shocked if somebody had sensitivity issues, and especially with Caridina in general. Like when we order Caridina, like rarely, like if we ordered 10,000 Caridina shrimp, I would be shocked if we had more than like 50 deaths, just
Yeah.
because like they're so like well taken care of before they get to us, and how they ship them is like they know that they're a different type of shrimp. And so like the people who breed those like usually breed them inside, and so like how they bag them is way different than how they bag Neocaridina. And so like that is one of the shrimp that I would say like, hey, like really rarely do we actually have issues with that type of shrimp unless we're doing something wrong. Oh, they weren't from us. So yeah, like if somebody's, if I bring in Caridina shrimp tomorrow and then sell them to you the next day, like the transition period could make them much more sensitive. But in general, we really don't see it.
So someone's water parameters might be real strange if they're getting Caridina from us and having a lot of issues with them.
Yes. Yeah, you shouldn't have Caridina issues when purchasing them from us, ever.
Yeah.
And if you do, I'd be surprised.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, that was a good one.
So, how do water parameters play a part for hardier types versus more sensitive types?
So I think honestly, for Caridina, like, for the most part, there's a couple of exclusions, but like the majority of Caridina prefer soft water. So like if you have water that has no KH in it, and the pH can be buffered down below 7, most of the time you're going to be fine with all of them. Now, like Taiwan bees I talked about prefer a lower GH, so like they might like, you know, a TDS between 50 and 100 with a GH of, you know, 2 to 4. Whereas like tangerine tigers and things like that actually prefer a little bit harder water. So like they might like a GH of 150, 170, or a TDS of 150 to like 175, and then they want their GH to be like 6. And so could you take a Taiwan bee and put it in the higher GH? Sure. And could you take a crystal or tangerine tiger and put it in the lower GH? Sure. And like odds are they would still do good. It's not super ideal. And so like I would say if you have the right or like a parameter that is within the range, like you're going to be fine to keep all of Caridina. The only ones that like get different and could be hit or miss are like the royal blues and the orange-eyed blue tigers. And so like for us, there's certain breeders that breed them in low pH, and then that's good, and then you need to mimic that. And then there's other breeders that breed them in a high pH, and then you have to mimic that. But if you take one that's used to high pH, put it in low pH, it's not going to do good. If you take one that's used to low pH, put it in high pH, it's not going to do good.
Yeah.
So like either way you look at it, and so like for us, for a while there, the royal blues and orange-eyed blue tigers we were getting in preferred the lower pH, and then we got an import, and then they all of a sudden didn't like it anymore.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, that's interesting. So now like we have to have kind of a flex system where it's set up to where, you know, it can have the soft water or the hard water, just depending on the species. And so like we're setting up, and we haven't had royal blues or orange-eyed blue tigers in stock because of this, because we've been setting up a new system specifically for them so that we can change the water parameters much easier. And so so that's something we're working on, but that's where like it can get confusing, and that's where, you know, having someone like us who's going to hold the shrimp and make sure they're healthy before they sell them, and then we can actually recommend like, hey, this is how we've been keeping them, you should keep them that way too.
Yeah.
You know, can save you guys a lot on your end as far as buying the shrimp.
Cool. And then I know we've talked about this in other episodes, but I guess the next thing would be our last trivia question, second to last trivia question.
You want to know my
maybe.
favorite shrimp?
No. Crystal reds.
Royal blue. Royal blue.
Really? Learn something new every day. Tell us why you wouldn't recommend keeping Neos with Caridina in the same tank setup.
So it's again, it's possible, right? Like I know that wasn't the question. Like when I started in the hobby, I wanted to maximize my tank space. I wanted to have Neo Caridinas with Caridina, and just because I know they wouldn't interbreed. And so like I really pushed to have all my tanks have both. And in every tank, I found that one of them did well while the other one did not. And like even like going back to like I had a crystal red tank with Neo Caridina, and it was set up for Caridina, so it was set up for the crystal reds, but somehow the cherry shrimp bred first, and the babies were born in there, and they did fine. And then when it came to feeding, the cherry shrimp just dominated the food. And so like now you got crystal reds who had their temperament was much more timid, and so like now they're not getting the right amount of nutrients, and so like they ended up like having babies, but then they were stressed, and so they dropped the babies, and then they really didn't breed, and kind of like the population stayed the same, maybe dwindled a little bit, maybe grew a tiny bit. Like maybe they had one successful breeding,
Yeah.
but like there was just no chance for them to really be super successful because the cherry shrimp beat them to it. And like I had I want to say a blue velvet tank with royal blues, and I set it up for blue velvets. And then somehow the royal blues populated first, and the blue velvets pretty much got diminished. And the royal blues took over. And so like really both setups were, you thought one would do better than the other, and it was the reverse. So it went the opposite way. And so I've always used that as like, man, like that's really fascinating to me. And like, why did that happen? And like at that point, like, you know, I only had 8 tanks or so. And so, like I was really watching them, and so I could really observe what was going on and spend a lot of time with them. And like I used to sit down with my coffee and watch them. Like, you know, it was something that like I really enjoyed. And so the reason I think the two can't really coexist well, one is the parameters, but even that, then it's like whoever's the first one to the party is probably the one that's going to win the race. And so that's where I started seeing that, like, even though royal blues really aren't an aggressive shrimp, they were more aggressive than the blue velvets for some reason. And then another tank, the cherries were more aggressive than the crystal reds. And so like, it was just an interesting thing. And then circling back, what was the original question?
Well, just why wouldn't you recommend keeping them together?
So one, it's the parameter thing, and then 2 would be the temperament.
Yeah.
And it's just like, if you really want to have success, now granted, if you just want to keep 2 different types of shrimp together and you don't want them to breed, and like if one of them breeds, great. If both of them breed, it's whatever. You're just looking to keep shrimp, not really interested in breeding both types, then I would say like keeping them together is fine. Like there's really nothing against it. So like you could do that just to have 2 different types of shrimp because you think they're pretty and you enjoy them. But like if you're really actively trying to breed both shrimp, I would say having them together is never the right answer.
Yeah. Are there
Great question.
Thanks. So if people were going to pick one or the other, which would you recommend they do? Caridina, Neo-Caridina? Is there a reason you would choose one over the other?
So it depends on your purpose. Like if your goal is to sell shrimp, then I would say Neo-Caridina because there's much higher demand. And then if you're breeding Neo-Caridina, you're going to have much healthier shrimp. So it's easier for you to go and compete. And so like if you go to a pet store and you're like, hey, I could sell you these shrimp, and they're like, well, yeah, I've been buying them and they all die, and you keep them in my same water, like that's an easy sale. And like I think that would be the way to go if my goal is to breed or to sell. If my goal is to breed and have the least amount of problems and like, you know, hey, I'm fine selling some. Like I think the colors on Caridina shrimp are much more like jaw-dropping. Like you can get some really cool patterns, some really cool colors. The only thing is the initial cost to set up the tank is more expensive, but like you also don't have to worry much about like sicknesses and diseases and parasites and so on and so forth. Like you just know like this is the right setup for a Caridina shrimp. This is easy, and like you just got to keep up with your maintenance. And even in the low pH side, so like Caridina shrimp, you don't really have to worry about tank cycle as much as you would in a Neo-Caridina setup. And so like for a lot of reasons, Caridina, if you're just looking to like have a recreational tank that you enjoy, and like you can sell some because like Caridina shrimp are generally more expensive, just the demand for them is a lot less. And so like both would work, but I would say like people that are looking to like make money off this, Neo-Caridina is the way to go. People that are just having a good hobby and want to breed some shrimp and have fun with it, Caridina is the way to go.
Gotcha.
So, again, great question. DJM, you're so good.
How does she do it?
How does she do it? I don't know. Maybe that's next week's trivia question.
Yeah.
How does she do it?
How does she do it?
Yeah. No questions in chat?
Yeah, we do have a couple now, actually.
Cool.
So, Andrea Lupton says,
Hey,
can
that's
we
my mama.
talk about the best practice for feeding? What is the least you should do?
So, it's a great question. So I always refer back to, there was a time where we had a package get lost in the mail for like a month, and it got returned to us, and the majority of the shrimp were still alive. Now, granted, a couple died and they ate them, so like it isn't like they had no food, but like it just shows that like you don't really need to feed them that much. And I don't think you ever have looked at a shrimp and been like, wow, that's a skinny shrimp, because like you really can't tell. And so shrimp are constantly grazing on biofilm, algae in the tank. And so like, I guess first establishing the fact that like shrimp don't need to eat as much as people think they do. And then overfeeding is probably the worst thing that you could do for a shrimp tank, because then you're encouraging planaria to grow and vorticilla and Scutarilia, like maybe not Scutarilia, but like you're encouraging all these microorganisms to start growing that could negatively impact your tank. And so less is always better than more, but like how much is too less? So like I would say if you go to your tank today and you drop a little piece of pellet in there and the shrimp swarm it, you're probably not feeding enough. And so like I would continuously feed every day until I start seeing like, oh, they're not attacking it like they used to. And then that would be my guide, like, hey, maybe I fed too much yesterday, or maybe feeding every other day is more appropriate. And so like I would always kind of like use the shrimp's behavior to determine the amount of feeding that I should do. And so like if you haven't fed your shrimp in a week and you drop a piece of food in there and they don't attack it, they're probably pretty satisfied just grazing on algae and whatever else is in the tank, the Indian almond leaf, alder cone, so on and so forth. But if they just swarm it, then like, hey, maybe you should feed again tomorrow and just see if they swarm it again. So that would be my approach.
And even when you think about like people, we like as a human, you don't eat maybe like 1% of your body weight in a meal. And so like when you look at a shrimp that's so tiny, it's like how much food do they really need?
Yeah.
Because like I know you put a little pinch in and you're like, oh, that doesn't seem like enough. But it's like, how much do you really think they need? They're like the size of a fingernail.
That's
trimming.
a good point. Like, could you eat a 1 pound steak right now?
Liv can put down some steak.
How much is a pound? 12 ounces or 16?
16 ounces.
16.
If it was just the steak, yes. But
So like that would like fill you up. You probably wouldn't be
yeah,
hungry
I'd
the
be
rest
like,
of the
okay,
day.
I'm good.
And like, yeah, that's a good point. You probably weigh 100 pounds. So 1% of your body weight.
Yeah.
That's the
a
right thing to
12-year-old.
say, right?
I did one time in middle school.
I feel like if I said you weighed 90 pounds, that would be offensive.
It would just be, even saying that I weigh 100 pounds is just so unrealistic.
But
As an adult woman.
if you weighed 100 pounds,
Yeah. If
That's
I weighed 100
1% of
pounds, I
your body
probably
weight.
would not be able to eat a 16-ounce steak.
yeah, that'd be 1% of your body weight. So yeah, that's a really interesting way to look at it.
Madison asks, what fish would you recommend for Caridina? I'm planning on adding chilies to my Caridina tank.
Chilies is perfect. Chilies also prefer a low pH. They won't really bother your shrimp. Miras would be great. Pygmy cories, fibrosis cories. Like there's a lot of like real microfish that would also prefer that type of setup and shouldn't disrupt your shrimp or their breeding. So it's good stuff.
Guppy Joe is curious, at Aquashella, what was the ratio of Caridina to Neocaridina in the shrimp contest?
So in the shrimp contest, I would say we have a majority of Caridina shrimp.
Yeah.
And that's because like when you get down to selective breeding, Caridina shrimp is where you can really have a lot of categories, breed for a lot of specific things. Like we have a crystal category, we have a tiger orange, or no, we have an orange eye morph category. We have, I believe we have a tiger category.
Yeah.
Like it's like, cause I know there's like wild types and like you really can't grade a wild type. You
Yeah, so
can, but it's not
there's
as-
6 different Caridina categories: crystal, Taiwan bee, tiger, Thai bee, crossbreeds, and is it Thai TB? Is that how you say it?
Thai TB, yep.
And then there's just one Neocaridina category. So.
Yeah. So, excuse me. We used to have a 2 Neo Caridina categories because there's solid color and then there's really patterns. But I forget why they got rid of it originally. But I would say those are the 2 grades that you could actually do in Neo Caridina. The other ones really don't make too much of a difference.
When was the last time you were in a shrimp contest? Putting your shrimp into the contest.
I don't think I've ever put my shrimp into a
Really?
contest. Yeah. And it's always one of those things, like, usually if I'm involved in a contest, it's a conflict of interest.
Yeah.
Not saying that I couldn't enter, because we do breed stuff around here. But I would just say, like, I don't know. I feel like if Flip Aquatics won a trophy,
Yeah.
there would be, like, a popularity contest. Like,
Yeah, I wasn't sure if like back in the day when the
back,
business was
back
just
in the
new.
When
day,
you were
we
a
didn't even
newbie.
have shrimp contests. So, like, when I was, like, hardcore, like, hobbyist mode,
Yeah.
that really wasn't even a thing that we did. And I think the first one happened like international show at Chicago, but at that point, like, we had already really started moving into like the import and
Gotcha.
being more of a business.
Yeah.
So cool. Any other questions from chat?
That's all the questions. Madison just says her shadow pandas do not bother eating anything that she offers. Granted, it's 3 in a tank with tons of biofilm and algae.
Yeah.
Just
That's-
Chris says he's down to 5. I think both of them got shadow pandas, right?
Just Chris might have royal blues.
I-
Or something like that.
Yeah, I know he
Not
did
sure.
want royal blues.
Yeah.
But I think he wanted shadow pandas too.
Okay.
I don't know for sure.
Gotcha.
Paul wants Rob in the shrimp suit.
He would. What, like for a coffee of Flip? Well,
Or just,
Halloween.
Just
for a
anytime,
personal
I guess.
cameo.
Or does he want, like, you know, you had me sign up for that one thing where, like, I could wish people happy birthday?
Cameo.
Cameo. That is what it's called? Yeah. So, you know, for
You didn't actually make
for
an
a
account for that,
thousand,
did you?
Yeah, for $1,000, I'll get in the shrimp costume and you know, say whatever you want. I'm totally joking. I don't really have a cameo.
For the shrimp contest, you should dress up in the shrimp
That's a
costume, he
terrible
says.
idea. I've done it before.
I think that would be a great way for people to not take the shrimp contest seriously at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, for Aquashella, I dressed up as my shrimp, and then Joe, he ordered the same shrimp contest or same costume, was
Yeah.
wearing it too, and so I was like, I'm taking this off.
We do have a couple more questions now.
My
What is
buddy
the difference
Joe.
between Neo Caridina and Caridina?
Well, I think these would be great questions to answer next week.
Okay.
We got 5 minutes left on
Yeah. So I think we got to get to the wheel
Em, are you copying those questions down?
and
don't have the
and give
document
some
open.
somebody a prize.
Yeah.
Or a spin.
Yeah, so we have a few announcements though, so people can get their last
Yeah.
minute registrations in for the Will.
We do.
Um,
So Monday.
So register for the wheel.
Yes. While we're doing announcements, register. Live auction is Monday at 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time.
Nice.
If you have any requests for that, send me a message on Discord today, because I'm going to start my list today. We're thinking like spooky vibe, you know, because Halloween and stuff. So look forward to that.
Black
Next,
Moscow guppy pair.
yeah, that would be a
Like
good
that?
one. Oh my gosh, just Chris had the cutest idea. I don't know for sure if we have everything in stock to do it, but he said that we should do, what was it? The orange pumpkin shrimp, the yellow Neos, and snowballs to do like a candy corn, like basically like a Skittles tank, but like candy corn.
yeah,
Candy
that is a
corn
good
tank.
idea.
That's so
That
cute.
is cool. I like it.
What can't just Chris do?
I don't know. What a guy.
He's an ideas guy.
That's the
he's a
trivia
shrimp
question
guy.
next week. How does Just Chris do it?
How does
He's got
Just
some
Chris do
beautiful rummy nose rasboras.
Yeah.
He really does it all.
Then next Friday we have Get Equipped with Flip, which is our monthly members only live stream. We have professionals from various like aspects of the industry come and
And Broccolini's hosting that one, isn't she?
yeah, probably.
Isn't that what we?
She did it last time. Get
Get
Equipped
a
with
flip.
Flip. Well, yeah, she'll have to 'cause you won't be here.
Yay.
She did a really good job last time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go.
So that will be.
Yeah, 'cause I don't think I'm here next Friday.
Actually, it'll kind of be all of us because he's coming here for that.
And
Well-
did we announce who's coming?
So it's going to be Charles Germont, and he is talking about discus fish and are they really that hard to
Are
keep?
they really?
Are they really?
Yeah.
I
The
do like me some
registration
discus.
for the shrimp contest is open for Aquashella.
Yep.
I think the main thing that I always like to try to drive home for this is you don't have to be there to compete.
Yeah, you could ship them, and then if you don't want them shipped back, you can actually either donate them to the contest. I think maybe it's only donate right now. We were going to do a auction, and then you get 70% of the proceeds. But I don't think we're set up to be able to do that yet.
Yeah. So you can register for that at AmericanShrimpContest.com. That's also like on our social media. It goes out in like all of our emails, the link to that. So, and then Aquashella. So that's coming up at the beginning of
Aquashella's
November.
So soon.
Wick.
Yeah, and we're going to
Quick.
be there. We're going to have a booth. And so we'd love to see you if you're going to
Yeah.
be able to make it.
Yeah, let's pray. Let's pray for Florida as it is going to get hit by
Yeah.
another hurricane, and then somebody said there's one coming after it too.
Really?
Seriously?
I didn't hear that. I thought
Maybe,
this was
maybe
the
I
one
got bad
after the one.
information, so don't believe me. That's why I said this is second-hand information.
Yeah. So Florida just had a terrible, terrible hurricane that
Yep.
hit
Now they have
Florida,
another
Georgia, North Carolina, I think.
One. Yeah.
Now they have another one coming in that they're just really going through it. So
So let's hope Daytona doesn't get hit too hard. Otherwise, Aquashella may or may not happen.
yeah, I think what we were seeing was that it's at like kind of the mid-high level red
Yeah.
leather based on what you had sent.
Yeah.
That, so
Hey,
yeah,
let's
pray
see
for
what
them.
happens. Yep, absolutely.
All right.
Well, you ready for this wheel? Are
I
you going rock today?
She was
used to
born
be
ready.
born ready.
I
but
forget.
Yeah.
Is that what you wanted to do? Okay. I was thinking scissors, so I was
Oh,
just making
You're gonna
man.
do scissors?
That's what I was thinking.
Okay.
Okay, hold on. I got to
Paper.
find the range here.
I'll
All
definitely
right.
either go rock or paper today.
You think?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
Maybe
range.
limits-
scissors.
That limits it down for
The
me.
range is 12 to 40.
Ooh, I'm gonna go with 14.
Oh, I'm gonna go with 17.
Okay. Rob, you are Paul. And
I'm going paper.
Liv,
No, I'm
you
just
are
kidding.
Jesse Gaines.
Jesse Gaines.
Paul, I'm gonna take this one home for your birthday.
Did we say happy birthday, Paul?
Happy birthday, Paul. Thank you for being a valued member of our aquarium club.
Thank you for tuning in to Coffee with
It's
Flip
his
for your
big
birthday.
5-0.
I know it's your special day, but it makes us feel special too.
Yes. You ready for this?
I'm ready.
Okay.
He said thanks, old man. As you should, Paul. As you should. Alright, ready?
Yep.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
Yes! 2 weeks in a row.
Oh, man, you hate to see it. Happy for you, though, Paul.
Well, Paul, happy birthday. We're gonna spin the wheel for you, and we're gonna send you a nice gift.
Happy birthday, Paul, every week.
This is a happy birthday, Paul wheel.
Paul, this one's for you, for your birthday.
Oh, what's Paul get? One day,
One
free,
day
shipping.
free shipping.
That's
I
a
thought
good
it was
one.
gonna be 25 members.
That's a good
again.
one for Paul.
With
Cause
a gift like that, every day feels like your birthday, huh?
Yeah.
no, we
No.
don't get that one.
No,
a
we
lot.
do
We
not
almost
get
did
that.
Our
it.
will is like finally getting broken in, I
It's
think.
finding equilibrium.
Yeah. So, Paul, I will send you a code for that so you can use it whenever you want.
Whoop, whoop.
And then I have to actually do a little something real quick.
A gift to the people
A gift to
on
the
your
people.
birthday, Paul.
So,
Wow,
What a
Paul.
guy.
he's so kind.
due to Paul's generosity, he wanted to give back to you all. And so for that, he is donating 5 memberships to Flip Aquatics.
Just in time for the live auction on Monday.
Just in time for the live auction.
Because you do
so,
have to be a member to participate in the live auction.
Yeah, so Oink Master Jennifer Linkus,
Oh.
QD, Guy Ashby, and the Dutch. Congratulations, guys. Shout out to Paul for making that happen.
Oh, JD just gifted 5 memberships.
And JD, thank you so much.
Wow.
Thank
Garage
you.
Gills, Del Rose Customs, Into the Future.
How come everybody kept saying Dutch name wrong? Autumn thinks it's pronounced Dutch, but obviously that's not correct. It's Dutch.
Hard to say. And then we have Brian and Tank Girl. Both got memberships.
JD, thank you so
Wow.
much. So
We feel the love here.
Happy 18th
Yeah.
birthday, Paul.
yeah, happy 50, Paul. We appreciate it.
I think with each of the 50
This one
years,
was for you.
with each of the 50 years he's had on this earth, he's just grown more and more generous each
Yes.
one.
Yes,
Wow.
it's been great. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Leather, glad you're back. And thank you guys for being here. Hopefully you enjoyed the topic today. So much love
So much.
from me and the Flip Aquatics team. We hope you guys make it a great rest of your week. As always, God bless. And
We'll catch you on the flip side.
hey.